Hi guys, in a recent interview, the new First Minister for Northern Ireland, Michelle O'Neill, was asked about a united Ireland, and she responded by saying that she sees change happening within the next 10 years. She described it as Ireland being in a decade of opportunity, so while she didn't explicitly say that a united Ireland would take place within 10 years, this is what's been picked up by the media. Now, of course, this didn't go down well with unionists and the DUP in particular. Sir Jeffrey Donaldson, who recently decided to end his boycott of the executive, was asked about a united Ireland in 10 years when he appeared on Sky News. And Jeffrey engaged in a bit of hypocrisy. Have a listen to this.
In its deal, the UK government says a vote on Irish unity is decades away, but the First Minister says it'll happen in the next 10 years. Who's right?
Oh, I don't agree with that at all. And I think that Michelle O'Neill, instead of focusing on a divisive border poll, she says she wants to be a First Minister for all.
Okay, before we continue, Kay Burley isn't completely correct here. Michelle O'Neill responded by saying, when she was asked about a united Ireland, she talked about a decade of opportunity. So she didn't say there will be a border poll in 10 years' time. And also Jeffrey Donaldson saying that she shouldn't be focusing on a border poll. She's not focusing on a border poll. She has said that she's there to represent her constituents and she's there to represent the people of Northern Ireland, to work on their behalf. On a side note, she said, but I'm also a Republican and I have been elected to do this job, and what I would like to see is a decade of opportunity. She didn't say anything really about a border poll. She didn't say we're going to have a border poll in 10 years' time and I'm going to focus on that. So Kay Burley didn't fully understand what happened, and Jeffrey Donaldson, of course, is trying to mislead.
Well, that means the unionist community. Every single opinion poll in Northern Ireland shows that some 60% of people here, at least that level, support the union. And
This is always a question that that I come up with when we hear about, for example, when it comes to Scottish independence or a border poll in Northern Ireland, on the island of Ireland in particular, that 60%, there's a vast majority of people who support the union. Then you would think that the DUP, loyalists, the TUV, would be demanding a border poll, because then they would win it. Republicans would lose. Those who want a united Ireland would be defeated. And then you could say, look, you've had your border poll. Now it's done and dusted. Now let's remain as part of the union and move on. The same with Scotland. Unionists in Scotland would say, well, there's a vast majority in support of the union. Nobody wants an independent Scotland, or very few people want an independent Scotland. But when you bring up the issue of a referendum, say, no, we don't want a referendum. We don't want another vote. If you truly believed you would win it, then you would be demanding another vote. It's strange.
And that means that the executive has to proceed on that basis. Northern Ireland remains an integral part of the UK. I've spent the past 2 years ensuring that our place in the UK is respected and protected in law. Now that we have that, let's move forward together. Let's focus on the issues that really matter to people. They're not interested in a divisive border poll. They want to know what we're doing about the health service, the waiting lists, investing in our children and young people, delivering childcare support for working families in Northern Ireland, creating jobs, building a future that we can all be proud of in this place.
My God, there is the hypocrisy. Jeffrey Donaldson saying that the Northern Ireland First Minister, Michelle O'Neill, should be focusing on on education, on jobs, on healthcare, on infrastructure, and all of these things that his party has stopped happening over the last 2 years. So he has spent the last 2 years banging on about a bloody protocol. Isn't it interesting that they stopped talking about the protocol? The protocol was destroying the union. The protocol needed to be changed. The protocol needed to be destroyed. It needed to be undone. The Windsor Framework, still not enough. It needed to go. It was dismantling the union. No unionist would get back into the executive as long as the protocol was in place. This is the type of rhetoric that Jeffrey Donaldson and the DUP were pumping out on a daily basis. To hell with public services, think of the union. Think of the protocol. And now, as soon as the executive is back up and running, the protocol has been forgotten about, conveniently. And Jeffrey Donaldson is saying, don't you dare talk about anything but public services and the NHS and jobs and stuff like this. They spent the last 2 years ignoring these issues, and now they're saying we need to focus on these issues. What an absolute hypocrite. A charlatan. He's been presented as some sort of hero. He's not a hero. He's a charlatan. He spent 2 years wasting time, which has deeply impacted public services in Northern Ireland. Charities have had to close down because they couldn't rely on public funding, because there was no minister to delegate tasks and to provide funding for these types of services. And now that it's up and running, he said, you need to focus on these things. Don't talk about a united Ireland or border polls or anything like that. Absolute disgraceful behaviour. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.